Okay, hey Art, how's it going? Um, so today I'm going to introduce a new project, some concepts. This is going to be the landscape project, and we've been working so far pretty small so far with things and objects, and now we're going to zoom out and take in what artists refer to commonly as environments, um, like areas, locations, places. Okay, so this is a very classic, famous kind of category. This is used in painting, drawing, across the board. Artists have been doing this since ancient times. Okay, so really, landscape is a way that artists have developed on pictures to show depth. Okay, so think of it in simple terms. You have a piece of paper as an artist, you want to show an environment that the viewer can actually feel like they're seeing farther into it than just this flat blank piece of paper in front of them. So over the years, artists have developed techniques and maybe terms and areas on the paper that they will call certain names that then have different placement locations, and this will make sense as I explain it, to better kind of talk about landscape pictures. Okay, so all of these terms are trying to convey this feel of depth, being able to see into or see distance, the illusion, the creation of this depth in a flat two-dimensional picture. Okay, so there are three areas that I want you to remember, and on your project I'm going to be looking very specifically, this is literally what I'm going to be grading for, is looking for these three areas in your landscape project. Okay, and the three areas starting from the farthest away at the top of your paper is referred to as the background. Okay, what is the background? Background is the area that is the farthest in your picture. You can't really see beyond the background, or it drops out of sight. It becomes overlapped. You maybe go beyond the curve of the earth and you can't see anymore. Okay, so objects that might be seen in a background would be things like mountains, clouds, maybe even other planets like stars or the sun. And so things like that. There are other things that might be like foothills, large objects. So if you have really big structures, like maybe you're doing a landscape that is in ancient Egypt and you see like a pyramid, those things all would probably fit into the background. Okay, now background characteristics have these attributes. They have characteristics of everything in the background is small in size. Even though it's a mountain, it appears small in the picture that you're drawing. Okay, it has minimal to no detail. Okay, on a mountain you're not going to see a tiny single tree if it's really far away, 50, 100 miles away. Okay, and so you might see a vague area that's green or is covered in trees, a whole bunch, like a forest, but you are not going to see individual detail in the background, okay? Because it's so far away, detail is lost, okay? And then you have, typically if color is involved, you have muted color. Everything at that distance usually appears to be washed out, so muted color. Okay, now moving forward, or actually for an artist down on their paper, you come into the midground. And I'm actually going to skip the midground because the midground is hard to define. It actually is a merging of the two extreme zones. So the background merges in this midground, which is at literally the middle horizontal of your paper, and then you drop ahead to the bottom of your paper, and the bottom is the foreground. Okay, and the foreground is not right at the bottom of the paper. It's from the bottom of the paper up to maybe a third of the way up, or at most halfway up the paper. Okay, what are characteristics of the foreground? The foreground holds everything that is closest to the viewer, and so very much opposite of what's in the background. Objects in the foreground appear to be really large. Usually there's overlapping, so you have an object that's very close, a tree that's very close, an object, okay? You'll see that in large size, but then it appears like it's overlapping objects that are in the midground or even the background. Okay, so that's very important. Okay, we talked about the overlapping concept in the past. Also, you have a lot of detail in the foreground, so you can, this is where you are probably going to spend a lot of your time, is putting in detail, and how much detail in the foreground is really what starts to set some artists apart as kind of standout specialists in this area of landscape drawing. And then you have basically vibrant colors. So everything is just in focus, popping, large size, high detail, and you have your foreground. Okay, so I am going to be looking for all three of these areas. What you choose to draw, paint in your landscape picture is going to be up to you. You can look at the demonstration that I have fast forwarded, but I would encourage you, have fun, maybe do an image search and look up landscapes on the internet, and then you could even think of different environments. Okay, so desert, forest, African savanna. I've even seen some situations like coastal, some ocean water, okay, mountains, lakes, things like that. So think of different environments and what sounds appealing to you. I would say start there, look up some examples of it, and then maybe just go for it. Okay, let's have fun doing a landscape.